You're listening to Terrified of Public Speaking, the podcast for senior corporate professionals, CEOs, founders, entrepreneurs, and leaders working in English that is not their first language. I'm Coach Edith. Today, we're talking about something many senior professionals experience but almost nobody talks about openly. It's called the freeze. That moment when you know exactly what you want to say, and suddenly, under pressure, your expertise disappears. Not because you're not intelligent, not because you don't know the answer, but because the room is moving faster than your mouth can keep up. And if this keeps happening, it quietly becomes expensive, professionally expensive. The moment you know too well. You know this meeting, the senior leadership meeting, the investor conversation, the strategy call, the client presentation, the boardroom. Someone important asks a difficult question, and immediately you know the answer. In fact, you knew it before they finished speaking. You've already analyzed the issue, you've already connected the dots, you know exactly what the organization should do. You are one of the most qualified people in the room, and then everyone turns toward you. The room waits, and suddenly, nothing. Your mind has gone totally blank. That's the frustrating part. You still know the answer. You can see it clearly in your head, but the wording slows down. You begin organizing the sentence, adjusting the phrase, and translating, trying to sound intelligent, trying not to sound uncertain, trying not to say it incorrectly. And while all of this is happening, the room moves on. Somebody else speaks, sometimes badly, sometimes less intelligently than you would have, sometimes with half the expertise, but they say something quickly. The room responds, people nod, the conversation moves, and suddenly the idea belongs to them, not because they were smarter, but because they were faster. And you are left sitting there thinking, that's exactly what I was about to say. This is the freeze. And if you are a senior non-native English speaker operating in high-stakes environments, you have probably lived this moment more times than you want to admit. Now, the thing people keep getting wrong. Let me tell you something that may challenge what you believe about yourself. This is probably not a confidence problem, and it is probably not an intelligence problem. And honestly, for many of you, it's not even an English problem. No, that sounds strange, because you have probably spent years telling yourself, if my English were better, this wouldn't happen. But let me ask you something. How's your written English? Your emails, your reports, your proposals, your presentations, your strategic thinking, your written communication. Excellent or very good in many cases, right? Sometimes better than even native speakers. So clearly, the intelligence exists, the language exists, the expertise exists. So what exactly is happening? It's pressure, time, language, all arriving at the same time. This combination changes everything, because in senior corporate environments, nobody gives you 5 minutes to organize your thoughts. The expectation is immediate response, fast recall, executive presence, clear communication, authority, instant thinking. But when English is not your first language, your brain is still doing extra work. Even if you're highly fluent, you are still retrieving language, sequencing language, monitoring your tone, managing professional positioning, trying not to sound less intelligent than you really are, and all of this in real time, under scrutiny, in front of people whose opinions affect your career. This is not a small thing, and nobody in the room sees this invisible workload, and it is workload. They only see the pause, and rooms interpret pauses very quickly. The professional cost nobody talks about. Now, this is where things become dangerous, because what gets lost here is not only words, it is professional perception, and perception shapes careers. The room doesn't say this person is processing language under pressure. No, the room often assumes one of three things. They're unsure, they don't know, they lack confidence, even when none of those things are true. And over time, this becomes expensive, quietly expensive. The promotion that went elsewhere, the project leadership opportunity, the client confidence, the authority you should have had in the room, the visibility, the influence, the reputation, the perception of executive presence. And maybe the most painful part, watching people who are objectively less capable become more visible. And it's not because they know more, it's just that they deliver faster. And after enough experiences like this, something starts changing inside you, often quietly. You stop speaking up as quickly, you rehearse sentences mentally, you over-prepare, you avoid visibility, you become more careful, more cautious. You wait until your thoughts are perfect. But meetings rarely reward perfect. They reward timely and slowly without even realizing it. You start shrinking professionally. You lower your expectations of yourself. You stop expecting to be the visible voice in the room. You convince yourself maybe public speaking just isn't my thing. No, let me challenge that, because very often the problem is not you. The problem is the system you're using under pressure. And systems can be rebuilt. Now, why you cannot ignore this anymore? Here is the uncomfortable truth. If this problem keeps repeating, you are paying for it. Every week, every month, every year, because senior careers compound. The person remembered becomes the person trusted. The person trusted becomes the person consulted. The person consulted becomes the person leading. And if your expertise repeatedly arrives too late, the room cannot reward what it never heard. That matters, especially at senior level, because silence looks expensive in leadership rooms. And if this episode felt painfully familiar, I want you to understand something. You're probably not broken. You are probably operating with a speaking system that was never designed for the conditions you work in. Now, the solution. This is exactly why I wrote Terrified of Public Speaking. It's not another confidence book. It's not motivational advice. Not just relax. You already know what that does not work. It doesn't work. The ebook was built specifically for senior non-native English-speaking professionals whose expertise disappears under pressure. Real situations, real fixes, boardrooms, unexpected questions, thinking time, interruptions, freezing, authority, pressure. 14 chapters, 14 practical shifts, one system. Because your expertise should not disappear the moment the room turns toward you. And frankly, you have probably already paid enough for this problem. The next episode, we're going to be talking about the silence tax. Why every important meeting you stayed quiet in cost more than you realized. This is Terrified of Public Speaking. I'm Coach Edith. See you next week.